Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start the recording, and you and I are going to have a discussion. As more folks come on, if they do join us, they'll just get the benefit of it. So anyway, continuing where I left off yesterday, one of the things that I was talking about was the need for us to prepare for being good stewards of the land, okay? And as an allodial title holder to the land, what does that really look like? What potentially would be involved in managing your land, your estate? And so we worked and started out with the idea of a fictional, say, 2 square miles, okay, or 2 mile radius, okay? And in that 2 mile radius, you've got, let's just say, 50,000, buildings and homes combined, both commercial and residential. With that in mind, several things need to happen. Your allodial title needs to be created, and then that land within that 2 mile square radius or radius literally becomes tax exempt, meaning that the tax district from the municipality that used to claim ownership of that land no longer has a claim and no longer has the right to collect taxes, because the land is owned privately by someone who is tax exempt. So that has major implications for everyone within your domain, on your land, because they don't have to pay taxes anymore. All right. So but they're on your land. So are you going to let them sit there free of charge? No, especially not the commercial buildings, the commercial business owners, because really the taxes were really meant for the business owners, the corporations. They're the ones who are supposed to be paying taxes, not the individual man and woman. We are supposed to live on the land free. All right. But that is for the heirs to the estate. Now, for the foreigners who have been getting away with living on the land, living in our land, free of charge for 400 years, and they have switched places with us, no, they got to get charged. Now you can begin to understand why the necessity is put upon all of us to declare our nationality, because you're going to be in one of 2 statuses. You're either going to be an American national, Moorish American national, or you're going to be a Moorish subject on the land. So in your 2 mile square radius of operations of your land, you're going to recognize 2 groups of people, those who are Moorish subjects and those who are heirs to the estate, who have declared their nationality. You're not going to charge the heirs to live on their own land, because it's their land as well, even though you have allodial ownership of that particular 2 mile radius, okay? So why would you charge your brother or sister to live on the land that he also has an equal right to claim? You would not do that. That would just be wrong, morally speaking. So if there is a declared Moor within your territory, you don't charge him rent and taxes, because he's tax exempt. He's an heir just like you are, right? And, he has the right to actually, create an allodial title for the land that he's sitting on, especially if that's a house that's been in his family for, a number of years or whatever, right? So he can claim that, and you basically have to work out and negotiate something with him. Now, when you do so, because you claimed it first, he's buying it from you. And when I say buying it, he can only buy it with the only currency on the land, which is gold and silver, from his trust to your trust. So y'all would have to work out a private deal from one private owner to another. Okay? And that's the way to do it. All right? So then now we dealt with the heir, if there was one within your territory, in your private land, on your private land. Now let's deal with everyone else who is a Moorish subject on your land, in your 2 mile square radius, okay, or radius of operation. Let's start with the businesses first, and then we'll go to the residential occupiers in your 2 mile area, right? So let's say of the 50,000 lots of land that are there, let's say more than half, 30,000, are businesses, okay? And those 30,000 actually generate, as an example, let's say $100,000 a month in taxes they were paying collectively for those 30,000 people. So, do the math on that. 30,000 folks sending to the municipality, $100,000 a month. That's not very much. That's dirt cheap, actually. Let me do the math on that real quick. So 100,000 divided by 30,000 businesses. Oh my God, that's only $3. So that's wrong, right? That's way wrong. All right, so we obviously need to take that up a little bit higher. So so let's say it was, instead of 100,000 in taxes every month, $1 million. All right. So now that's $33,000. Nope, actually, let me see, 30,000. Oh, that's still cheap. That's only $33. Okay. So let's just say that the average rent or the average tax bill that they were paying was $3,000 a month, $3,333 a month. All right. So that's really way more. But if it was an average of $3,000 a month, and you've got 30,000 businesses, so they're really generating almost $100 million a month. Okay, that's a whole lot of money, right? But this is all fictional. I'm just making this up. Okay. But let's just say the average tax bill was $3,000 a month. You got 30,000 businesses in your area. All right. That's a whole lot of money that the county, the municipality, has had withdrawn from their coffers and their ability to collect. All right. So remember when I mentioned in that recording that you may want to deal with them and actually get a contract with them, okay? Offer to contract with them for the collection of those taxes. Welcome, Yuda, Devon, Davion L. Welcome. So let's just say that you go ahead and negotiate a contract with them, and in doing so, you offer them, so that $100 million, okay, you're going to offer them a percentage of that back. Okay, you're going to offer a percentage of that back. So, Islam, welcome. And in doing that, let's say you offer them a 30% cut. Okay, so instead of losing the full $100 million a month that they were generating, let's say you're generous, you're going to give them 40% of that back. All right. In your contract. So you're going to get 60% of that, they're going to get 40%. Right? That's better than zero, isn't it?
Right.
Okay. So now they have a reason to continue, because now instead of losing $100 million, they're only going to lose 60. That's not a bad deal, and they're not going to be responsible for maintaining the roads. They're not going to have the overhead expense that they had before, because remember, that's private land. And now you are responsible for everything that happens on that private land, which is why you're not going to give it away for free. Okay? So all the streets and roads that are on your private land, you are responsible for. Now, what does that mean? The utilities running through it, the water running through it, the maintenance of the road, the snow removal, if there is any, fixing all the potholes, and all of that stuff is now your responsibility, or the responsibility of your trust. Because you are the private landowner. No difference if this was a private farm. Everything that happens on that private farm, on the land, is your responsibility, is it not?
Yeah.
So it would be no different when you're taking back land that was used for the public and now it's private. Okay? Now you're going to be the one that someone's going to turn to, or your trust is the one that they're going to turn to when something goes wrong on your land. Let's say there's a giant sinkhole that develops and swallows up a whole business. Well, somehow or another, you're going to have to fix that. Okay? Shore it up. That's going to cost you some moolah, right? But it's your responsibility. Okay? So you can see where management, stewardship becomes a major issue or a major challenge, because everything is not going to be peachy keen all the time. You're going to have responsibility, and you're going to have to rise to the occasion. That's why I said, it's not wise for people to think that, oh, I'm going to claim the whole state of whatever, and that's going to be my fate. I'm going to be king and governor of that whole state. No, that's unreasonable. But what would be more reasonable is when many of us come together and we claim a whole bunch of counties, okay, or a whole bunch of smaller cities and subdivisions within, okay, and then we form an association among us, a collective governing body, okay. Now, when you look at a state like Georgia, Georgia is gigantic. I think that's the second or third largest state, okay, behind Texas, California. No, California is just long, but Texas is, I think, the largest state. And I think in square acres, Georgia is probably second or third, okay. I don't know the other ones that are bigger than that, but Georgia's gigantic, huge. So, what questions do you have at this point from what we've gone over? Any?
No, keep going.
All right, good. No problem. No
good
problem.
for now.
All right, good. Okay, but if you think of one, just let me know. So let's continue.
Okay.
Let's continue. So for those business owners, what is going to be their first of all, how are you going to communicate with them? Well, number one, because it's your private land, and because the taxing agency that used to send them regular communications and everything else, you're going to, in your contract with them, you're going to, put in the contract that they have to notify all of their previous tax payers that the land is now private. This is the owner. This is the administrator of the land. Whatever agency you use that represents your trust interest. Because, see, it's not necessary for you to put your trust out there into the public. You really don't want to do that. You want to keep your trust private. So how does your trust interface with the public? Well, if you understand trust law, and I don't know the extent that you do, but if you understand trust law, then you'll recognize that a trust has the ability to own and operate other legal entities, right? So you can set up an LLC, you can set up a nonprofit, you can set up whatever you want agency that can interface with the public, okay? So let's just say you set up a foundation. So you say the land is owned by this foundation, or the land is owned by this association, whatever you want to call it, this company. So that company now is the public space that the business owners will interact with, okay? So now the business owners are dealing with ABC Company, which is owned by your private trust, okay? And but there's a veil between them, and that veil can't really be breached because everything is in property of the trust. So if they want to sue the company, this company has limited liability, and it does not extend back to your trust. All right. So that's one other thing to look at. All right. That's how you protect the value of what you have in your trust. But at any time, your trust can come forward and fund that company for whatever liability it has. See the beauty of that? Okay?
Yeah, so the trust provides all the funds, and then you can make additional trusts that interface with the public and other businesses.
There's no limitation on how many trusts, other trusts, that your first trust can create. So it can create inter vivos trust, it can well, I wouldn't say inter vivos, but it can create other business trusts that can operate under its umbrella, right? Mm-hmm. And you most certainly want to do that on many occasions because you want each one of your allodial properties to be owned by separate trusts, okay? The reason for that is simply that, each one should have its own trust so that they're all protected. I'll give you an example. Whenever you fly a commercial airline, you probably didn't know this, but every single plane that they have in their fleet, they may have 300 some planes, right? But every one of those DC-10 planes or 747s, they all have their own separate trust. I bet you didn't know that, did you? That protects the company, the main corporation. So if they lose one plane, somebody can't go back and sue the entire organization, okay, for everything they got. Well, I lost my loved one. I'm going to sue y'all for $100 billion. Nope. The limit, because of the trust and the insurance that is provided by that or for that public entity, for that one trust, is limited. And if you notice on the plane ticket, and when you buy additional insurance, there's always a limitation on how much insurance you can get on that one flight for every person. That limitation is a direct relationship to the fact that each one of those planes is insured for a certain amount of money. And every passenger on it is insured for a certain amount of money. And never will it exceed that amount. So no matter how negligent they are, the most you ever going to get out of there is what the limits are for those policies. Okay? So that's how they protect themselves and protect their trust. So we have to learn from that and basically learn how to limit our liability. Even though our trust is going to be so big, they're going to be pretty much unlimited. But you don't want some, non-heir to come in and say, some more subject and trying to get rich because they know you got wealth. Okay? Because there's a lot of ambulance chases and a lot of people, that's all they want to do. I mean, you look at the lawsuits that are filed, especially in this country with lawyers all over the place. They always want to go after somebody with a deep pocket, right? Just because they know that they're weak. All right, so you want to protect yourself from that for the time being. All right. Now let's continue. So so you have a contract with the municipality. The municipality is, the taxing agency. And the previous taxing agency is now going to be your collection arm to collect the rents for you. They're going to get it. And they're going to, collect whatever the fee was. Let's say we said it was, $3,000 something for each one of them. So that's $100 million, okay, every month. And 60% of that is going to you, and they're keeping 40%. Okay. So now all of a sudden your trust is generating revenues of $60 million a month. So now the question becomes, how are you going to use your proceeds from the rent, because that's what it is, of the commercial businesses that are there? Well, because you're a trust and you're not in it for profit, okay, you're going to use those funds every month for the benefit of building up your community, making it better. Why do you want to do that? Well, several reasons. One, you want your community, your land, to become a beacon for others, where everybody wants to come to your land because it's almost a paradise. The business owners, they don't have to go through red tape when they need to build, or they don't have to go through, city hall and all that stuff because they're on private land. All they got to do is come back to your organization and ask permission for whatever it is they need to do. Okay? You either give it or you don't. Okay? Or you negotiate something. You see what I mean? Because you're the one in charge. So that's a major advantage for them. All right? Do you want to have oversight as far as, what things you allow them to do? Certainly. Because you don't want them to build a nuclear power plant or put up a 5G tower, that's going to hurt the environment and hurt the people. So those are the things that you're going to be doing to protect, your property, your land. Okay? Anything that's going to harm the environment, they want to go in and cut down, 500 trees. No, I don't think so. Right? No, you're not cutting down all these trees just because you want to build a building. And you may want to change, the structure of certain buildings, things like that. So there's a multitude of things that is an advantage for the business owner that's on your land. Now let's transition real quick to the residents. Okay? So let's say there's another 20,000 residents there. Right? And they all got mortgages, right? Right? And what I'm about to mention is going to apply both to the business and to the residents. Because they're on your land, they have deeds, right? The deeds that they have on the land are deeds granted by someone who is no longer the owner of the land. So they got to get all new deeds. In other words, they need a new contract in order for them to stay on your private allodial property. Right? Now, the deed lists them all as tenants. And in every deed that's been given to every resident, okay, by the corporation, because they were all created by the banking industry. There's an automatic foreclosure provision that's already in there. There's a power of attorney that's already in the deed that gives them the right and the ability to foreclose on the deed, all right, on the mortgage. So you're going to have to nullify all of those deeds for those 20,000 people and create new deeds for all those 20,000 people. Why? Because you're the new business owner. They got to have a contract with the landowner, which is you, the allodial owner of that land. So one of the first things you may want to think about doing is nullifying all of their mortgages on your land. Because guess what? All the mortgages were unconstitutional anyway.
Right.
Right? So how is the residential owner going to look at that? They're going to say, well, I'm not paying more money to them. They're not the bank. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, then get the hell out of my house and get off my land. See how simple that is? And you have the right to evict them out. Right? If they don't want to do business with you and create a new deed and come down and sign a new deed, then you have the right to get them off your land. Right? And now that's an abandoned house. You have the right to throw them out and take it over and put someone else in there that's willing to do it. But now you want to create, as I mentioned before, a win-win scenario. So one of the things you may want to think about is not only have you canceled the mortgage for them, the banks are going to be extremely mad at you. The mortgage companies, they're going to say, well, that's illegal. No, it's not. It's my land. I can do what I want on my land. And on my land, your mortgage is invalid because it's against the Constitution, and I'm enforcing the Constitution. Now what? They got nothing to say. Okay? They ain't going to like it, but they got nothing to say. So now you have a new deed, and the new deed protects them from being foreclosed on. Because the only way they're going to be foreclosed on is if they don't pay the rent, and you're going to put in there some provision that makes it reasonable for them. One of the other things that you may want to do is give them an immediate savings, because they were going to be paying that mortgage for how long? Forever, 30 years, right?
Right.
So let's say the average rent was $1,200 plus the taxes. Well, you just said it's tax-exempt land, so immediately that's how much of a savings. You know, let's say it was $1,200 plus they paid another $300 for taxes, land taxes. Well, all of a sudden they don't have to pay land taxes anymore, right? Wow, so that's a $300 savings right there. Let's say you decide you want to take another 20% off the $1,200 that they were paying for the mortgage because you just canceled the mortgage. So now they went from $1,500 and now they're down to say $1,000 a month that they're going to be paying in ground rent for living on your land. Is that a savings to them? Is that a benefit to them?
That's a significant savings.
Significant savings. So you went from $1,500 down to $1,000 just because someone else claimed the land privately. Hell yeah, I'm gonna pay them. That's a way better deal, and I don't have to worry about going through a foreclosure ever.
Right.
It's a good deal. That's a real good deal, right? You know, insurance and all that other stuff is also negotiable. You may want to require that they have insurance, but you may not. You know, because your trust can insure everybody. Okay. If the house burns down, you know, you can get them another place, put them in another home, and rebuild that house.
Or they can just have their own insurance, and then as far as, you know, the significant savings that they've had from previous, they can just have their own insurance and stuff.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple benefits to the residential homeowner, all right, because now, you know, again, he doesn't have the city hall breathing down his neck. You can do this, you can't do that, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. You don't have those restrictions. You don't have the ordinances that apply to you, okay, or apply on your land. All those statutes and codes don't apply on your land. Because, again, that's for juridic people. It has nothing to do with someone who's the allodial holder of that land. So all that stuff is nullified in your zone, in your little community. See? So we got to look at things differently because the world reality is going to change all around us. By way of claiming that allodial property, everything's going to change. All right? And, you know, with change, there's always resistance from those who don't want to change because they like it the way it is. They like it the way it is. All right? Welcome, area code 215. Welcome. So they're going to fight that. All right? But there's not much to fight when you're the allodial king of the land. right? There's not much to fight at all. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So there you have it. So those are just some scenarios to think about. You know, of course, you got to think about the utility companies that are providing utilities there. When you think about some of the new technologies that are available, for example,
it seems to me that at some point it's best to like try to get as far as utilities as possible, because what I'm noticing, a lot of utilities are not only just do that, but there's more than it's supposed to, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, finding ways to be able to start. Well, go ahead and continue. It's just a thought.
Yeah, what I was going to say in that regard was just simply that the utility companies that are running through there, you may want to change out all of the technology so that the houses are all self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. So it eliminates the utility bills on your land, because they're using an antiquated way of getting electricity every month. So let's just say that you turned around and you used some 0-point technology on your land, all right, which gives free energy. Okay, it's a small unit, maybe the size of a small box, okay, and you pay for it and have it installed in every single residential home. 20-some thousand homes, you put that in. Wow. Do you realize how that's going to make your community look? When others find out that that's what's going on in your community, you got free water, you got free electricity. You know, if you're still using Wi-Fi, you got free Wi-Fi, or you're utilizing this new what is it called? I think Google was working on it. Fiber technology. What's it called? Fiber optics. And now they have speeds of 100 gigabytes per second, okay, or per minute. It's 100 gigabytes per minute. They were testing that 3 years ago. I'm sure they've perfected it by now, right? So now you can bring that type of technology on, where you get free internet to the whole community. Your 20,000 people got free internet, right? Wow, what a difference that would make. So what you're doing is you're building up your private land and your community so that it is so attractive. Let somebody decide they don't want to live there, or they don't want to act right, okay? They want to be a troublemaker. Well, you have the right by contract, because you put it in your contract, that if they become a nuisance to community, to society, they're a criminal element, like they're child pedophilers or something like that, all right, or they're, you know, stealing and they're a criminal and they won't change their behavior, you have the right to kick them off your land, all right, and to nullify their deed. Now they got to leave your community because it's your private land, right? So they're going to have to abide by your rules, which need to be fair across the board, right? So you really get to determine and lift up the moral fiber of your community. So if you can really envision it, you should be seeing the opportunity to expand that model all throughout the entire county, and eventually throughout the entire state, and eventually throughout the entire country, right? So hopefully you can see that vision, right? So I wanted to just paint that whole vision of potentially some of the things that we can do, and I'm not covering everything. There's still a whole lot more that I'm not even discussing right now. But as you can see, that's why proper preparation in advance for stewardship and administering your trust is going to be very important, because you are not going to be able to necessarily attend to every detail of what needs to be handled with managing your estate, okay? You've got banking, finance things to think about. You got investment things and vehicles to think about. You have to think about how best to utilize the assets that are coming into you, the revenues that are coming into you from ground rent, from the commercial businesses that are paying taxes. You may call them something else, but they're still going to be paid to you, right? We got some static coming from somewhere. Okay. I don't know where that was coming from.
Yeah, I hear it too, but I'm not sure what it is.
My apologies. I'm on the freeway listening in. I'll leave my phone. My apologies.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that, 619. So there's a tremendous opportunity, no matter how you look at it, across the board. And so what we want to do is prepare ourselves for proper administration and management of our trust and our trust assets by preparing ourselves mentally and ahead of time, and not at the last minute when you've got everything rolled out and it's in your lap. And now, what do I do now? Is your question. And how am I going to handle that? You have no clue. That's why I use the illustrations I did yesterday to help us appreciate the need to really think in advance of some of the issues that you may potentially run into. And of course, like I said, you can't think of everything that potentially can go wrong. That's not the idea. The idea is to get yourself some general preparation in advance, knowing some of the general things that you're going to be confronted with. And how do we know what things we're going to be confronted with? Well, all we really have to do is look at how the community runs now. Who does what now? Who provides for trash removal? Who does the snow removal? Who does the road maintenance? How does the water come into your community? And who pays for that? See, all that's done through so-called taxes and stuff right now, right? So because that's going to be private land, well, they're not going to be paying for that anymore because the municipality is not responsible. You are. So that means renegotiating contracts with all of those agencies, okay, in a private contract on your land. Okay? Now, who is going to make sure that all that stuff is done? Are you going to do that yourself? I can tell you, you ain't going to have time. All right? So that means hiring an administrative staff. That means hiring people to help you to manage your community, your land. All right? No different than a landowner today, or I use that term loosely, landowner, someone who supposedly owns land now. What do they normally hire? A property management company to manage their properties, right? Welcome, Brother Bishop. Welcome, Brother Bishop. How you doing today?
Doing well, yourself?
Fantastic, fantastic. We've just been going over preparation of yourself and your mindset for stewardship of your allodial land and what that potentially looks like. All right, so there's a host of things that are going to need to be administered, and you personally are probably not in a position to manage all these things on your own, right? So in order to handle that, you may certainly have to consider hiring an administrative staff and directing them on what things you need them to administer, to watch over, manage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Bishop and I, Brother King Bishop I think are you in Maryland or are you in Texas right now?
I'm in Maryland right now.
Okay, all right. He and I have had these discussions in the past. Why don't you introduce yourself real quickly, brother, because I know you've got so much going on, and you can tell whatever you want to tell.
Okay, well, who all do we have on the line?
We've got Sister LaWanda Bay. We've got a brother here in California with me, and I've got someone else who I don't know their name yet. There's only 5 or 6 of us on here. But, so it's just a small audience right now. And go ahead.
Well, I'm called King Bishop. The name on my birth certificate is Perkins. I was born in Texas in 1959, and I've created I'm getting a lot of feedback, so I guess Phoenix, anybody who's not speaking needs to mute out. Go ahead, unmute it again.
Go ahead, you're good.
Okay, so I'm still hearing the feedback. You muted, then you unmuted.
All right, you're going to have to unmute yourself then. All right, go ahead and unmute yourself, brother. Star 6.
Yeah, I got to get to the private section because I came in on the app, so I'm online. I'm not on the phone.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I got to get to it. So anyway, I don't know. I'm just hearing a lot of feedback, so it's hard to concentrate.
Yeah.
But so I created a agricultural development project for the economic recovery of the indigenous natives, not only of North America, but all over the world. So we started in Africa because Africa has a foundation for the greatest improvement in economic development. And the basis for that is a feasibility study that was done by the World Bank and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in 2009. It is called Awakening Africa's Sleeping Giant Agriculture. So anybody can Google those terms, and that feasibility study will pop up. It is on the internet, and it has been reevaluated several times by qualified organizations around the world as a significant feasibility study for agriculture development in sub-Saharan Africa. And what they did was they studied an area of sub-Saharan Africa called the Guinea Savanna Zone. The Guinea Savanna Zone, and just for a starting point, we'll start on the west on the west side of the African continent, below the Sahara Desert, around Senegal, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. And it actually stretches all the way across. I don't know exactly how wide it is, but it stretches across the entire continent to Ethiopia. And then it goes down. It encompasses most of Kenya, or all of Kenya, most of Uganda and Rwanda, and then it goes up north of South Africa. So the northern part of South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, all of that is in the Guinea Savanna Zone, including part of the island of Madagascar. And then it moves back west all the way, and it encompasses all of that section of, and then there's part of it, if you look at the shaded area, part of it is definitely viable for agriculture. And then there's other parts around it that may be okay. So in all, the feasibility study determined that there's 700 million hectares of arable land in sub-Saharan Africa that could be used for viable agriculture. Now, I know, Phoenix, you asked me to introduce myself, but this project is me. So anything that you want to direct me to do as far as the conference call, then you're welcome to chime in, because you know me, I will go on and on about this. But this is what I am about, is the economic development that would support the people here on North America. When I say indigenous populations, I'm talking about that which is formerly called the Negro, the slaves, including the American Indian. So we are some of Mongoloid descent, and some of it are, we actually migrated from northwest Morocco across to the North American continent before the Pangea, as many of you already know. So what I'm suggesting is that we help Africa to develop their arable land to support our own economic activity as we transform from this slave system that has been created and we have been a part of. So as we transform out of that into true knowledge of who we are and what we really represent on this planet, that we have our own economic base, which would be in a joint venture partnership with landowners in Africa, where we can reap the economic benefits and help our people as we wake up and understand what the matrix is all about. So that is what I'm about, and that's what I do 100% of the time. I have 3 websites up. that would demonstrate exactly how we are going to do this. And there's a lot of environmental information that we're going to be paying particular attention to as we move forward, because for several reasons that I'll be talking about off and on as we go through these conference calls and the introduction to this economic program. So, again, I'm King Bishop. Some people call me Bishop Perkins. That's fine. And I'm here to help in whatever capacity that I can.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for that overview. Now, if you could help me to address the additional elements of Help Africa, Help America plan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Help Africa, Help America concept is actually where we go into these areas. And for those that don't know, a hectare is 2.5 acres of land. Okay, so we are used to acres here in the U.S., which is the U.S. system, of course, but the imperial system, which is the metric system, actually has it 2.5 acres, which is 1,000 meters square. That is a hectare. So what we would do is go in under the Help Africa, Help America concept, and this would be embracing a lot of treaties that are already in place, such as the AGOA Treaty, which is the African Growth Opportunities Act that was originally signed by George Bush Jr. in 2002. And that allows over 3,600 products that are basically created, made, manufactured in Africa to be imported into the United States with no duty. So we can bring products, natural products, into the U.S. and sell those products amongst ourselves with absolutely no duty being added to the cost of the product. So again, that is the African Growth Opportunities Act that was signed in 2002, and I believe it has been extended into the next decade. So it has been extended under Barack Obama, and so we don't know what is going to happen with this current administration, but we anticipate that it will continue in force. And so what we do is we go into Africa, we identify 50,000 hectares of arable land, and we identify 100 to 250 hectares within that 50,000 hectares along with the landowners. So this system will work whether it is one family or one owner of the whole 50,000 hectares, or if it is 10,000 owners that have 5 hectares each. This process will still work because we need 100 to 250 hectares, and we come together and we invest into that 250 hectares everything that is necessary to make the land profitable. So if the land study is for cotton, cotton will grow well in that area because of the air, because of the humidity, because of the land, the elevation, all of the factors, the soil. Once the factors have been proven feasible for cotton, then what we would want to do is in our cooperative position, within the 100 to 250 hectares, we want to do everything to make cotton farmable on that land. And then, of course, there's so many other products that we are looking at that are going to reverse the damage that the human being has done on this planet, such as hemp. If we were to do hemp, then, of course, we would want to be able to bring that hemp into our cooperative and process that hemp into a product that can be sold somewhere in the world, whether it's local, whether it is right around the area where the cooperative is, or regionally in an adjoining state or nation, or if it is going to be shipped out. So the idea of Help Africa Develop, Help Africa, Help America is actually going to include the infrastructure development for Africa from where the cooperative is to the port of exit. So we want to actually have maybe 10 of these separate cooperatives. So in that case, we would be looking to develop 500,000 hectares of land. And we would have all 10 of those cooperatives work together, identify the infrastructure needs, encumber those cooperatives with the cost of the infrastructure development along with the maintenance, and then build that infrastructure in a joint venture relationship with existing construction companies, existing labor forces that are present there in the country that we're going to do business in. And you keep in mind that Help Africa, Help America, we have an ECOWAS project that is included in there. That is all 15 countries that are in the economic community of West African states. I'm a king in Guinea, West Africa. We're also working in East Africa, in the Northeast Africa community, And that Northeast Africa community consists of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, South Sudan, as well as Tanzania and Burundi. So those 6 countries have already signed an agreement to work together to develop their economies. I am in Kenya. I'm known as Persigo Ola Kamau. I'm chief elder of the Maasai and the Kikuyu in Kenya. So I would be doing the same operations wherever we find significant investment to go in and actually change the economic structures of these areas. And we want them all to come up at the same time so that they can first trade with each other, and then they can begin to trade with the world and create products that can be sold on any shelf in the world. And what we would do, go ahead. Somebody has a question?
Yeah. I wanted to interact right there.
Yes.
You go on, because I think it's important for the listeners and those that are going to be listening after this, because this is a recorded call, that you make the connection. Because what Bishop just basically explained is what's happening on that continent, okay, to develop a massive economic base for the future. I mean, we're talking for generations, okay, of economic development. And literally that's going to create tremendous, that you can barely even come up with a number, opportunities for the future, all right, industries and so forth. So the important thing is, the whole theme of this particular discussion was preparation for administering and managing your estate, as far as the future is concerned. So the question is, we're going to develop all those products over there. Are you going to be ready to receive and distribute and create the economic power base here to receive those goods and get them into the market? That is where your future, okay, can really be processed, okay, by having the foundation, creating the environment to receive that. Because remember, they got everything locked up with their corporations right now, all right? But when we basically take back our lands here and we have a loading title to them, all right, it's going to change the political and economic futures of this landmass that we call America, the Americas. I'm talking all the Americas. And so you want to be at the forefront of that, right? And the only way you're going to do that is to know what's happening in other parts of the world, know what's coming, and be prepared to be a part of it and to help steer it, direct it, make it grow, and make it prosperous for all those that are involved, okay? So I just wanted to throw that part in there as well. So we have a major role to play in this Help Africa, Help America, program and directive. We have a major role to play in that, okay? Not just from the spectator point of view. All right, go ahead, Brother Bishop.
Yes, well, the main thing to understand is that the foundation has to be set so that as we transform out of this current economic disaster that has exasperated and actually engulfed our lives, we must have an alternative. Now, in addition to that, many people don't know because we've been so involved in just surviving, we're not in touch with what's going on in the world. But we are currently in a food crisis. The crisis is that the population increase that is expected, that is expected on this planet by the year 2050. Right now, there's an estimated 6.9 to 7 billion people on the planet. And by the year 2050, that is expected to increase by 38% to 9.6 billion people by the year 2050. And in addition to that, the greatest increase in population is on the continent of Africa. So people the population is getting younger. There is more now between the ages of 18 to 25 than there was 4 or 5 years ago. So the population is getting younger, and people are getting older, so they live longer. So all of that means that there needs to be more food produced. In the year 2050, that is going to be a even more or greater crisis than it is now. So where we are actually looking to set up our economic base is the area that is increasing the most in consumption. And in addition to that, the standard of living is going up. So people are wanting to eat better. They're wanting to eat more meat. Not that it's better to eat meats, but that is where the trend is. Chickens and goats and all of the things that they eat there customarily, they're increasing in consumption. So agriculture is the basis for all life on this planet. So if you create more agricultural product, you create more cow feed, you create more chicken feed, you're able to create whatever is needed as long as you have a direct link to the land. Now, with the Internet of Things, with the cryptocurrency revolution, decentralized currencies, we can actually go into these cooperatives and we can connect these sovereigns, for lack of a better word. I don't like to use that term because they've actually stipulated something bad to it, but that's basically what we would be, as sovereigns. Once we regained our estate, then you connect that estate to a particular operation within that cooperative, and you can show a trail. How did I do that? I went and set up a trust, which is a common law trust, in the state of Nevada. Why Nevada? Because that was the only state that I could find that would recognize the existence of a common law trust without it being statutory to the state. So they never asked for the bylaws. They never step in and try to regulate what the trust can or cannot do. And so that trust is registered in the state of Nevada as the Global Agriculture Development Business Trust. That is a trust that is going to set up the operation in the country in Africa. So it would go in, it would look at the laws of the state there in Africa and of the nation there in Africa, and then set up a cooperative that could actually link a list of people in North America directly to that operation. That is the operation that I am suggesting takes the place of the birth certificate entity, that you were authorized to do business in this current economy without receiving the full benefits of it. So what we would do is basically have a way to replace that operation. The idea is that as those sovereigns come in and declare their sovereignty and do all of the administrative processes of learning how to operate then we would be able to supply you with an economic base that could take care of your day-to-day needs as you become active in the economic operations of the future. That's how we make the transformation.
Wow, wow. And now I don't even know if those of you who are listening in right now comprehend the magnitude of what he just shared with you. You know, we've had this discussion, Brother Bishop and I, privately multiple times over the last, couple of years, as this was in development and being ushered out, and we're about to actually implement a lot of these things that he's talking about. And literally, when you talk about what is going to replace the current system, in one of the earlier videos, I think I talked about the fact that our people are going to need to know how to operate in the new reality, okay? So they're waking up from slumber and the sleep that's been imposed on them. They didn't even know they were asleep, and their eyes are fuzzy, and everything that they knew or thought they knew was all wrong and all lies. So they have to retool, relearn their mind, re-educate themselves. So to address that, okay, so that they're prepared to take advantage of what Brother Bishop just shared of the new economic reality that is available to them, they have to kind of come to an understanding of not only where they were, what they were involved in, but how to maneuver in this new reality. So an educational curriculum, which, if I could be so bold, I'm going to help spearhead that educational directive and curriculum by developing a platform by which they can learn what they need to learn about what they were in, where they were, because you need to understand where you came from and what you were involved in so that you know how to best separate yourself from it and conclusively get out of it mentally and then steer away from that. And then how do we live in the new reality? Okay? And this is all part of the preparation for being a good steward of your estate. And your estate is what? Really, this entire planet. That's how deep this thing is. All right? You want to add anything else there, Brother Bishop?
Yes, well, I look at it like this, Brother Phoenix. If it hadn't been for the ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, and for Morpheus on the ship, what would Neo have to go into so that he could heal, so that he could be reprogrammed, and that he could become the one? The Nebuchadnezzar was an integral part of the whole process. And I'm talking about the movie The Matrix. I'm just taking for granted that everybody has seen that trilogy of movies called The Matrix. And what I think it was the attempt for the powers that be to give us an idea of what was really going on and what has really happened to us. And, they feel good when they do that. So what we have to understand is that as we wake up and we get the opportunity to take the red pill or the blue pill, there's something within reality that has to be there to kind of give us that bridge over to the other side. You understand? So you got the man, he's sitting there and he's punching all of the knowledge into Neo when he's plugged in. Well, where did all that come from? Who did all that? Who paid for it? Who figured it out? Somebody had to do that. And the thing is this, when we go to Walmart, let's say you go to Walmart and you want to get your oil changed. Now, they come out with a wand, a programmer in his hand, and he asks, what can I do for you today? And he puts all the information in that about you, your car, what service it is that you want. When he hits enter, all that information is immediately in Walmart's system, and it's there forever. They can go back right now and look at oil changes that I did in the 90s or in the 2000s. It's in the system. We can do the same thing with the ground. If we bring everybody back to the original purpose, forget all this industrialization, forget these fiat currencies that they've learned how to trade and make profit, and whoever they want to gets the profit, whoever they don't want to, there's no way you could profit. Just like they do when you go to the casino. some kind of way they're controlling whether you win or not with what you put in that slot machine, what you put on that table. Well, we are changing that to where that person that comes in can now be connected to a role on a cooperative, 6,000 miles away. And when the cotton seed is put into the ground, we know how many people that row of cotton will support, because we are growing the cotton, we're ginning the cotton, we're picking the cotton, ginning the cotton, we're going to make thread, we're going to weave that thread into fabric, we're going to dye that fabric, we're going to cut, we're going to make the blue jeans, we're going to make the t-shirts, we're going to take them.
All right, I think he got dropped for just a second, so he'll probably call back in. All right.
Yeah, I've been trying to interject for a while, but I guess I've been muted this whole time.
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm on my cell phone. The link I was sent, it wouldn't recognize it on any website, webpage, Chrome, Firefox, nothing.
Okay, give me a second, and well, you said you're on your phone, so you don't have access to the chat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm going to go back home in a few minutes right now, but I typed that website in with your backslash, and it wouldn't recognize it.
Okay, all right. I'll confirm that and get that website to you. So just bear with me for a couple minutes, because I do have it on my computer here, and I can get you that website addresses. Right. So are there any questions on what we talked about just in the last, 15, 20 minutes?
You too, thank you, man. Hey,
I heard at the end I was hearing something that would be very helpful to me and stuff, because I've been having a difficult time grasping, this paradigm from shifting from this point to the other.
Okay.
Okay. Where he was talking about the reprogramming of ourselves into this new paradigm. I think it would be very helpful for me, especially for me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about that for a moment. Let's talk about that for a moment. So that, again, let me help you with the visual. He started it because he gave you the visual of Neo in the Matrix. And when Neo was unplugged, what was the first thing that Neo saw? Do you remember from the movie?
The first time he unplugged?
Yes. As soon as he unplugged, he was still in the Matrix, and physically he came out, and he looked around in the shell that he was in.
Yeah, he was in the shell in a large farm, and he came out of the liquid and everything, and used the fire for the first time.
And he had no clue where he was, right?
Right.
And so, again, what does that tell you? There's confusion when you first come out the Matrix. You don't understand what's going on. So until he got to a place of sanctuary, all right, a system where, he could. All right, welcome back, brother. Welcome back. So until he got back to somewhere where he was safe, Bishop, what we're talking about is just the transition phase. So I'm going back to that matrix to help illustrate what we're talking about. There must be a system in place of sanctuary wherein the person just coming out the matrix knows that he's in a safe place, and there's a safe environment for him to have the time to learn what he needs to learn, and yet not worry about the needs of life. Because Neo had, or everything he needed was provided for him on the Morpheus ship, right?
Yes.
Right.
So that's what we're saying. We are going to create that. We are doing it right now. Okay? Yes. We're creating the system under which the people, when they come out, have the ability to have a place of sanctuary. Because our trust is going to provide that. Okay? So there needs to be a system in place. We're creating that as we speak. The full manifestation of that is not clearly visible right now, but it is.
I'm on the call right now. Is there any way we can schedule a time to speak?
I'm going to mute you out for just a second, brother.
Just send me an email. Thank you. I'm sorry, I had another call.
All right. So that's the importance of what we're talking about in terms of a system being created. Because I'm going to just say this, Sister LaWanda. When I first woke up out of the Matrix, okay, from watching the Matrix movie, I knew that I had to do something. But as I looked around like Neo did, I saw that something wasn't right. I knew that I didn't belong, but I didn't understand anything. And guess what? I had no one to go to and talk to. I had no sanctuary to go to help me figure things out. All right?
Right.
So what did I do? I went back to sleep for another 5 or 6 years. Okay? Actually, it was almost 10 years later. Okay? Because that was in 1999, and it wasn't until 2012, 11, 12, 13 that I began waking up again. Okay? And this time, I could not go back in, and it didn't matter whether there was a system there or not for me to go to, because I was determined I wasn't going back to sleep. I was going to have the truth no matter how much it hurt. And it had already hurt me enough. All right? But that's when I needed to wake up. All right? So the difference is, when I went back to sleep, there was no system for me to attach to connect myself to. Well, we're creating that by the institutions we're creating, by the environment we're creating in the conscious community, and as well as physically, we're going to be creating those things, and we're going to make that readily available through the technology we have, internet, all of these different things. Okay, that's what Brother Bishop is talking about, right?
Yes, because see, what happens is when you have a trust set up, number one, the trust can operate even after you have expired.
Yeah.
So when you set the bylaws of a trust in place, the trustee's responsibility is to carry out those bylaws. And the creator of the trust can designate how those bylaws are addressed to make sure that the course that is set for the trust stays. And then the people that the trust wants to do business with, it can do them by treaty, it can do them by MOU, it can do them agreement, because they look at a trust the same way they do a corporation. So it's basically a corporation that's in business to do business without any oversight or any control of a statutory regulation of the state, which is what they have used to keep control. That's what they've used to keep control, you understand? So through the Internet of Things, and again, there's a website. I have the Global Agriculture Development Trust website. It's up, and it's going to actually go into detail on some of the aspects of these agreements, such as the cryptocurrency. We're going to show you how to create your own cryptocurrency. And then we're going to partner with you, and we exchange our cryptocurrency for your cryptocurrency. So that is how we support you as you make the transition. You'll be able to go and get the same product that you get now, but you pay for them with your cryptocurrency rather than the fiat currency as being the only course of exchange. So what does that mean? That means that the law has just changed for you, because the only responsibility that you have is to report to the proper agency of the exchange that you are making. And in the case of the Internal Revenue Service, that would be done on the 1099, which is an information return. So your accountant, whoever is doing your accounting, and if you want to go to 7-Eleven and get a cup of coffee, this time you go to 7-Eleven, you're going to ask 7-Eleven for a W-9. When 7-Eleven gives you the W-9, you're going to let them know, hey, I'm going to report this exchange to the Internal Revenue Service. I'm going to actually be paying you in my own cryptocurrency, but I'm going to convert that cryptocurrency to Federal Reserve note credit at your request. Therefore, you are the one that are liable for the tax. And if you do that on a consistent basis, that's one of the transforming processes that we will be using.
Right. And, one of the other dynamics to add to that is the fact that the IRS is being dissolved even as we speak. With them being shut down, they may not ever open back up. All right?
They might not.
And it's quite possible that they will not. So that'll change the dynamics of what Brother Bishop just shared as well. So what other agency will be involved and how else things are going to change, we don't know at this point. That's up in the air. But based on the current model he just shared with you, that's what we would be doing. All right. Now, that's subject to change, obviously, in the very near future. So understand that a lot of the answers to the problems and challenges that we face today are going to change tomorrow because of the dissolution, the dissolving of the corporation called the United States Incorporated, which most people perceive as the United States government. Right? So a lot of these things are going to change, and they are changing even as we speak. I'm going to unmute everyone, so if you have any questions.
I got a question. This is Jay Bay, San Diego. And can everybody hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so he was talking about uniting of African countries for agricultural purposes. Now, what about land that we have here or trying to acquire here? I've been looking in the process of acquiring 1,100 acres. I guess you'd say that's about 435 hectares, if you call it. But my question is, how do we go about getting funding to start the agricultural process?
Well, all business presently is done basically from a raw product. So the idea in having an operation in a tropical environment such as sub-Saharan Africa is that you're going to have raw products, just like we mentioned the hemp. Well, let's say, for instance, there's a particular need for plastics that are derived from hemp that can be sold here in the United States. We would identify areas such as what you're talking about, the 1,100 acres. We would come up with a plan to transform that 1,100 acres into some viable operation that would provide housing for the workers, that would provide commercial needs of the workers in that 1,100 acres that you have identified. And we want to do this. We want to develop that 1,100 acres in a joint venture with people, just like we do with the landowners in Africa. So that's how the idea would be. What we want to bring the hemp products that we're growing, the raw products that we're growing in Africa. Let's say, for instance, the most common transport for plastic is pellets. So we would make the pellet out of the hemp starch, the liquid inside the hemp stem, there into pellets, then transform those pellets, or transfer those pellets to the 1,100 acre site that you have. And then the workers there would be making the dashboard, making the door panels, whatever you're going to be making the plastic into could then be done here, and your workers could get paid. Your whole operation could be funded. Your profit could be realized within that area, and whoever you're partnering with, all of that could be done. So the entire operation is where we get funding from, because we have now the ability to create the raw product, or at least the idea to create the raw product. It just comes down to a business plan. Once that business plan is drawn up, now you can go to and you can create cryptocurrencies that are connected to that business plan. You can pre-sell the cryptocurrency. You can do everything that's normally done on the market for decentralized currency. You can Google an ICO, that is an initial coin offering. They have that, and then they have other regulatory operations in regards to cryptocurrencies that they are doing now. I think one Phoenix is a STO, securities token offering. So the whole operation in regards to your 1,100 acres is what is the factory. You know, we have to identify an end product that is going to be, maybe it's cornflake, right?
Yeah, see, I wasn't referring to raw product as plastic. I was in the impression that we were going to do agriculture, like farming, like growing products here in America for our people. So we don't have to worry about ports of interest, or, coming through any port for that matter, because we're here grown locally, and with our own logistics, we have access to people who have 18-wheelers that can transport goods throughout these states, or, these unions, if you will. That's the question I was referring to. How do we get the revenue to start that here?
Let me address his question, Bishop. In essence, what the brother is looking for is how do we fund the local needs and products and so forth. And that is going to have to, unfortunately, there's not a direct path for that right now until we really finish acquiring access to our and to our trust. The only way that we can deal with that right now is to go ahead and claim the land and then enforce that claim by liening whoever you need to lien. Okay, there's a process right now with the Moorish American Consulate by which you can acquire that 1,100 land because you're an heir to the estate. Now you have to be documented correctly. You have to have your records and your status on record correct. And so forth. You got to come straight. Brother J. Bay. And so when you do your allodial land title, which by the way, they just posted that on the consulate website. When you do your allodial land title, that gives you the ownership of that local parcel of land. Okay? You're going to create your deed. You're going to have your trust in place. Now you can use the value of that land to get what? Whatever the finance you need for the seed, the production, the building facilities, all the rest of that because you are the landowner. All right? And so you can, basically exchange or whatever you need to do to get I'm trying to say the foundation that you need to start your farming operation, whether that be the seed, I think you mentioned you already have that, but the construction equipment, all that kind of stuff, okay? So there's a full way that can be done, but it's going to start, first of all, with your acquisition of the land as an heir to the estate. That's your first part, right? Once you get past that, a lot more will become clearer. All right, brother? I hope that helps to answer the beginning. It's not going to answer everything, but the beginning stage of what we're going to need to put in place to help you to get that 1,100 acres. All right, brother?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I want to say welcome to Brother O.C. Sorrell. I know that's you. I recognize your number. Welcome, Brother Ross. Welcome, Mustafa. And welcome, Brother Scimitar Bay. He's awfully quiet.
Islam
to all of you. All right. So how are you all enjoying the conversation so far? I hope most of you kind of understand what we're going over and talking about.
Well, I just tuned in. Islam, first of all, nobility. This is Mustafa. Just tuning in. Are you recording this?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
And you definitely want to know that. You definitely want to hear this one.
Okay. Definitely. Because after what I had caught from what you had put on Facebook earlier, I said, this brother is definitely on point.
Allahu Akbar. Right.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, Brother Scimitar said the same thing. He said the same thing.
Yeah.
And I said, this is definitely, I'm so thankful to be a part of something that is not only so great, but I can make sense of it. And it's just awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
And
well, Thank you for participating, and thank you for chiming in. And your energy is very much needed. Okay, brother. I don't know your background. I don't know, what tools and talents you're bringing to the table. But the fact that you're here tells me you're supposed to be here. Okay? That's all I need to know is that you are here. All right? And everyone else. So these are future leaders that we're talking with and to. And we're going to work through all of you as future leaders. You're already leaders, and you're going to continue to do so in the near future. And we're going to just open the door for y'all to do what you're supposed to be doing. Okay?
Islam.
All right. Good enough. All right, so let's just see. Just as a slight recap, and I'm not going to try to go over everything that we've already discussed, because we've discussed a lot of content already, beginning with Sister Lawanda, where I was explaining, what the administration of your estate on a small scale looks like. Now, Brother Bishop came in and shared with us on a grand scale, okay, the administration of our estate, which is the planet Earth, all right, and what that potentially looks like over the next 30, 50 years, okay, from an agricultural development standpoint, because understand everything, we have gotten away from the basis of our existence, which is agricultural in nature, all right, and if anyone doesn't understand that, speak up now. All right, and let me illustrate what I mean by that. Number one, we were not meant to live in concrete buildings in cities on top of each other.
Thank you.
That's right. 100,000% unnatural for us as melanated people who are in touch with the environment around us and receiving energy from the earth itself. And that is in direct contrary to nature. All right? Our nature.
I've felt more natural in open spaces and stuff instead of having walls and walls and walls all up close. That's not normal. That is not of our nature, definitely.
And if you think for a moment that wasn't by design, you're delusional. All right? Yeah. When they built government projects, what did they do? They built it with cinder blocks because they knew that blocked the energy of us as melanated people. Look at the schools, same thing. Look at the prisons, same thing. Look at the row houses called government projects, same thing. Block the energy so these people cannot get in touch with who the hell they really are. All right? So they've done everything they could to suppress our natural abilities. Now, when we start talking about agricultural projects of the magnitude Brother Bishop introduced with Help Africa, Help America, all right, and all of the rest of the projects that go along with that, we're talking about going back to a natural elemental state that's going to reawaken within us that which was supposed to be manifest a long time ago. That's what's going to help us to elevate and address the proper stewardship of this planet we call Earth. Islam? I hope everybody got that.
Well, let me add a little bit to that, if you don't mind, brothers.
Please, go ahead.
Well, the Earth is 70% water and 30% land. So all of the striving that we see,
all right,
for those of you that
disappeared on us for a second. Muted out.
I'm King Bishop. I am the founder of the Global Agriculture Development Business Trust. I'm the creator of the Help Africa, Help America concept, and I've been working with Brother Phoenix now for, I guess, what, 7, 8 years, I guess?
No, it's only been since 2014 or 15, I think. It seems a lot longer because we've gone through so much, right?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Brother Bishop, I'm here. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, I'm back. So you cut out on it. I don't know how long it had been. So
2014.
2014. So that's what, 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So what the idea is for the global agriculture development is there are some technologies that exist that would allow us to create ocean-going vessels. And these vessels would be primarily designed to go out into what would be known as the international waters. And when I mean by vessels, I'm talking about something that is huge in the scale of 100 square kilometers on the surface and then going down a few stories. And we could launch these very easily from Africa. I had contact with a NASA scientist. He was an ex-scientist for NASA, and I sat down with him several times and discussed this idea. And he went and looked at it on a very grand scale. Now, this gentleman has passed away, but he was looking at certain aspects of this, such as making electricity from the current. You know, they have technology now with electricity from the ocean. And he said that this thing could be done. It more likely would not be done in my lifetime, but it could be done, where we would launch these huge ocean-going vessels. Now, I'm not familiar with Jack Cousteau. So, 500 miles.
Excuse, somebody got a lot of noise in the background.
Hello?
Phoenix? Hello?
Hello?
Okay, I'm here. It's King Bishop. I'm back. Who else here?
I'm back.
Okay, everybody's there?
Yeah.
Phoenix?
Islam.
Islam, brother. Brother Phoenix back?
I have to do something. I left my email. So if anybody has like websites or any information to share, please send it to me. And the recording.
I got you, Sister Lawanda.
And, also the schedule when the next one will be. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I got you, Sister. I got your email.
I'll check and see if you're still online, but I have to do something real quick. Peace to you, brothers.
Peace, Sister. Thank you for coming in.
Islam.
All right, go ahead, Brother Bishop. You got the floor.
What I believe is that we need to launch these ocean-going facilities and start doing things out in the open ocean, like aquaculture, you know, growing fish out in the open waters where there's no pollution. And, of course, we don't want to add to the pollution, but one thing that we could do is help clean up the water, clean up the pollution, and collect the plastics that are in the oceans and out in these vast areas. I'm going to take this call. I'll be right back, Josephine.
All right. All right, so some thoughts on that last part. Go ahead, family. Friends, go ahead. Any comments? All right. So in the meantime, you know, the whole idea of that ocean-going ship being out there is, number one, you don't have any territorial limitations that way. You have freedom of movement, freedom of whatever you need. All right. And it's in a pure environment. Okay. And so all you need from that point is to come closer to the land masses within a 5 to 10 miles, and then you can unload your cargo, you know, within 5 miles of land jurisdiction, you know, to any port around the world. Okay. All right, Brother Mustafa, you had a little too much background noise, so I muted you out. If you need to say something, just unmute. But so what we're sharing with you is ideas of things that are outside of the box, okay? Because that's what it's going to take to create an entire new global economic structure. It's thinking outside of the box.
I'm not doing
And what is not going to limit us is going to be the idea of corporation profits and international bankers and gangsters. That's not going to limit us anymore. All right? So we have to think outside of the box in terms of how we're going to move commerce, create commerce, and benefit from commerce. Okay? And that's all up to us. Okay? So, we're going to do these things as we need to. Okay? By, again, thinking outside of the box. Brother Bishop, unmute yourself when you're ready to come back. Brother Rod, you got a question?
Not a question, but to the point that you guys just spoke about with the seafarer on the waters. I mean, then why limit yourself? If the technology exists to occupy the sea, then the airspace must be, it must be considered as well. Certain elevated living lifestyle could be conceived in the mind and then manifested physically, where we're not just living on water, but we're living above the land and occupying the airspace, which is available to us as well.
Absolutely. In fact, all of us were given a glimpse of that potential. If you look at, for example, the Avengers movies, okay, and Captain America movies, what was the ship that the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. used? Okay, that ship was up in the air at all times because it was self-sufficient with energy, and it stayed up in the air at all times. Now, they were using that for military purposes, so-called protection. But what's to say that we couldn't create something of an agricultural, need up in the air like that, or for whatever other purposes that are for the benefit of mankind?
Floating habitats.
Floating habitats, exactly. Habitat, absolutely. All right. Now they've actually done that on the ocean line vessels. They have ocean line vessels where you can buy a condo on a vessel. And I think they're about 1,000 square feet each, so they're not small. They're very nice size. And these are luxury cruisers, basically, like cruise ships where you buy a berth, and it's your condo, all right? And you stay on the ocean all the time, all right? You can leave by helicopter when you get close to land, come back, or you can leave by boat and come back whenever you want to, all right? So they're utilizing different forms of this technology right now. But you're absolutely right. There's nothing to say we couldn't have floating habitat. Now, I'm thinking more in terms of, and not so much a floating habitat, but think about server technology. Right now, if we wanted to create our own servers for internet and for satellite phone purposes, that's the way that we could do that. And we don't have to be on anyone else's continent. You put that thing up in the ocean, above the ocean, and we can tap into it with our own private phone companies, our own private satellites, our own private servers. All right? That's our own internet. And it's out of their eyes and out of their purview. All right? So that's a whole industry right there that needs to be tapped into at some point in the future. Okay? All right. Any other comments from anyone at this point?
Yes, King Bishop.
Go ahead, brother.
Yes. The whole thing is predicated on agriculture because the universe supports this planet with an inherent profitability system that is agriculturally based. So if anybody puts a seed in the earth, that seed comes up and it produces a product. The thing is, how does that person benefit from that product other than consuming that product for food? And that is what we have been creating as a form of the ship Nebuchadnezzar, to be able to people as they wake up from this nightmare. Now, industrialization, in my point of view, was a big part of the extension of slavery once the United States Corporation decided to go into business, which was in 1871. If you notice, it was 1871 when they went into business. They needed to find a way to get more and more and more economic operations within the corporation. So around the 1900s, they came up with the idea for industrialization, or profiting from a product, a raw product being created into a product that can be sold. And they have always controlled those profits, or the lion's share of the profit, even as the United States became the superpower that it is today. So all we're doing is basically doing the same thing, but we have to pay attention to the very fundamental intricate parts of it, where you exchange your labor for a part in that economic development program. So what we're suggesting is that we come together and we share with each other. We invest in each other in this way, the same way all other peoples do. The Asian people, they come here, they trade with one another. The Jews, they come, they trade with one another. You know, we're the only ones that don't have a system in place where we can trade with each other and we can invest in each other. When a neighbor has a teenager that's going into college, we need to be able to support that teenager to become whatever it is that they are aspiring to become. So these are the things that we have to pay particular attention to, and they all need to be tied to agriculture, because agriculture has an inherent profitability. It doesn't have to be made up. The universe gives you that inherent profitability. Phoenix?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot I had my mute button on. I was just talking away. All right. And, you know, and speaking of investing with one another, you know, the reason that I set this up today was to continue the conversation I started yesterday for the manifestation of some immediate short-term needs that I particularly had. And one of the things that I felt that, you know, it's not fair for me to request assistance from my fellow brothers and sisters without giving them something in exchange. So I have shared with you, you know, the results of my study, the results of my knowledge, my concepts, my intellectual capacity, and all I've asked for in return is $20 donations between $20 and $50 from 50 of my fellow brothers and sisters. Okay, and this was one of the first videos that I put out. Was a manifestation video. It's only 4 minutes long, okay? And what I'm trying to manifest is what is immediate needed to keep me from being homeless. So donations can be received at melaninaudio@gmail.com. That's connected to a PayPal account where I can receive donations. That's the only time I'm going to mention that on this particular call. So if you don't write that down, I'll give it to you one more time, melaninaudio@gmail.com. Now that's for Brother Phoenix, because I'm trying to keep from being homeless before this weekend, all right? But in the meantime, I fully expect that the universe is going to answer. For those of you who are in a position to do so, I know that you will, because you value and appreciate what we're doing and what we're moving towards. So I'm not overly concerned that, you know, that I'll be short in any way, because the universe has never let me down, and I don't expect today to be any different, all right? Going forward, what's going to happen as we continue with the energy that we have put out, the energy that has been put out on the planet by way of the last lunar eclipse and the full blood moon, wolf moon, I think it's called, that just hit this planet 2 days ago, was fantastic, magnetic. It was gorgeous, all right? And what that energy means is there is a revolution, a change that has been pronounced and permission given, okay, to implement, to conclude, to open up doors, etc. And so what we are seeing and projecting to happen very shortly, all right, is the opening of the doors to these estates. And it's going to go through private trust, okay? It's going to go through private trust. It's not going to go into the hands of the individual, all right? So understand that was the reason why you need to get your house in order. You cannot claim your estate in someone else's name. You've heard this before, all right? Illustration again. I told you I like giving visuals. Some of you may be familiar with a TV series called Arrow, okay? And the short version of that, or story, was the man was shipwrecked on an island, and his father and family were all killed. He's the only heir to his estate. His name was Oliver Queen. But while he was there and lost at sea for 7 years, he was declared dead by the rest of the world. Okay? And in doing so, what happened? When he came back to life from being lost at sea, okay, that should be ringing some bells for you, he had to come back not in the name he had adopted while he was recreating himself, but he had to come back in the name of his estate, of his heirship, in order to claim his estate. So he couldn't come back as someone else. He had to come back in his true proper self. Okay? So that is the same principle that applies to us. We are coming back in our true proper selves, okay, not as a corporation fiction, a juridic person. You were never a juridic person. That was something the state created in order to cheat you out of your estate, okay, so that they could benefit from your virtues. So the point being, these estates will be opened up to those of us who have come into our proper person, who recognize who we are and set up our private trust, and those are the ones that are going to get funded, all right, first and foremost. So the orders have already been given to the Treasury to roll out the gold-backed currency from multiple indigenous populations around the planet. That's what's happening on this planet, and why the corporation called the United States is currently shut down. Because nobody wants their fiat anymore, and no one's taking their birth certificate. And the SESTA-KB trust that they've been using all this time have been cut off. That's what's going on behind the scenes, okay? Islam, do anyone have any questions? Because I want to wrap this up, and I want to come back online in about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm going to be back online again this evening, and I want to do another session to continue this discussion and wherever it needs to go. So I want to get more participation, so I want you to help get the word out so that we can get this information out to more folks, okay? Any questions or comments? Just unmute yourself if I got you muted. So the Scimitar Bay ain't got nothing to say either?
Okay, yeah, here I am. Okay, listen, on the vessel in the water, and you saying that they have no control of it, it's not under nobody's territory, right? That's what you're saying, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, let me add some dynamics to this. We say that we are the inheritors of the earth, and that we the God and goddesses of the earth, right? So even though the idea is perfect, but I can't see how any of those corporations, Pope, or anybody could have anything to say about what we do out there in the sea anyway. Can you explain that? Express that? Why I feel like that? Because I feel like they through, so they can't put a claim on nothing. They subject, endangered species. I mean, you know, can you explain that to me?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, start at the very beginning.
Yeah, a lot of background.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. Number one, you are correct. They don't really have any claim over, international waters like that. Okay, international waters is non-territorial. It's open for everyone. All right, so you're correct in that respect. But understand the claim that the Vatican and the international bankers have made have nothing to do with real men and women. Okay? The claim that they have is, number one, they created a fictional version of you that they are controlling called a juridic person. Right? Now, if you go back to the birth certificate versus nationality 3 videos that I did, I covered that and I went over that because it is the juridic person, the artificial legal entity, that they're claiming ownership of. And they're claiming through that they also got your soul, your body, and your spirit, all right? By way of your baptismal certificate, by way of, claiming the soul is under some supposed authority to give him to the Pope, which was a bold-faced lie. But guess what? His claim has not been rebutted by you. You come out into your existence, and you just, by acquiescence, go along with the program. Even though it was through ignorance, you went along with the program. So they claimed everyone. That's what they did. And then they set up a system to enforce their claim. That's what they've done. All right? So with that being in mind, remember, you have first priority claim from the creator who created you, not them. They created a fictional version of you, not you. All right? So that's the difference. That is the difference. Okay? So just keep that in mind, that the only claim that they really have is over the juridic person that they themselves created. And as long as you believe you were the juridic person, they had control over you and your actions. Once you declare your nationality and you become aware of who you are, and this is where the educational program that we spoke of earlier comes into play. The system whereby you can reset yourself once you come out of the matrix. See, this is all connected. Right. It's all connected. But we must see and understand the connections. That's why it's necessary to have a ship called the Nebuchadnezzar, okay, by which you can go and get a respite from the journey that you've been on and recuperate, rebuild, reprogram, okay? Then you can learn how to operate in and out of the matrix at will. Then you become the God you were supposed to be. All right?
All right. Right.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Superb. Right. I got it.
All right. I'm going to unmute everyone and see if there's any other questions. I can't believe I didn't hear from Brother Otis and Rails even. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I'm calling you out.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Can you hear me, brother?
I hear you. You know, I couldn't let you sit here. I couldn't let you sit here and not say nothing because I know you always got something to say.
Well, all right, so let me say this. This is my position because you know me pretty well. I am in support of us and anything that we can do to help bring forth positive change on whatever continent, Africa and Turtle Island. So I mean, I've been looking into this thing. I've been really researching a lot about what's going on in Africa, and things are looking pretty good over there, actually. So, I mean, it's just the process. Funding is always, in the back of my mind. But I know you guys just mentioned about, using the land, creating crypto. So I just really do believe that there are things that are happening right now that would help bring this about. There's changes that's going on right now as we speak. So, I'm observing, I'm listening. This is really the first time I really heard about this project, but it sounds like a good project. It's just us coming together and really making it happen. So that's where I'm in. So, I think it's a good thing.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I appreciate your support, with your energy and everything else, and I know you, like you said, you do support, anything that's helping our people, and I've always appreciated that about you. So thank you for that as well. All right, like I said.
And by the way,
yes.
And by the way, before I let it go, now I don't know, I haven't totally confirmed, but they're saying the militia is being dispatched at this point in all 50 states. So that's something we just have to verify to see if that's true.
Yeah.
So change is definitely on the way.
Yeah, and if that is the case, why they're being dispatched, and that's to collect up.
Oh yeah.
That's what that's for. All right, because in order for righteousness to take place, the wicked can't be here. So a lot of these people that were at the top of these organizations, they're going to stop at the top, start at the top, and work their way down. So that's what's good. That's what has to happen, and that's what's going to happen. So, and I've been praying.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm waiting on.
Yep. All right. Well, appreciate your comments. Any other comments before we conclude? Thank you very much, Brother O.C. All right. Don't forget that I'm going to be coming back on live in about 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And I would love for you all to come back, those who are able to, and share this information with as many others within your network, so that we can have a larger crowd that can hear this message and hear what's coming and help to make this a reality. All right. Any final comments, Brother King Bishop?
No, I anticipate a lot of the information that's going to be necessary for us as we evolve from that former state, is going to be gone over again and again and again. I've already went over with you. I think the important thing is for us to develop an app that we can download to our phone, and then there are these videos and this information that's being detailed can be available through that app. That's something that we're actively working on now for the global agriculture development. And then we can get a lot of more pertinent information about what's going on a day-to-day basis. We actually need a news channel of our own so that this information can be readily available to people as they are available to absorb it. So everyone keep that on your list of aspirations, and when you visualize to the universe what it is that you want, make sure that that is on your list. We need a way to be informed and kept up to date on the activities as we make this transformation, because the brother is right. The transformation has already begun. It's just that we don't know all of the intricate details of what has been taking place as they're taking place. So that's the only comments that I have at this time, brother. Can't hear you if you're talking. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just returned.
Okay. Brother Phoenix, we can't hear you if you're there. Whew. I don't hear anything, do you?
I don't hear anything.
No. I don't know what's going on. I came in on the app. How are you coming in, on the phone or the app?
My phone.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do that next time. I hear people hanging up, so it must just be muted.
No, well, that happens with this with this particular program. Of the conversation, it gets a little too interesting. Sometimes they'll start to knock you off. So
I'm telling you.
I missed a few minutes.
Yeah, well, I think it was all recorded. So
everything that you said is may have heard once, but it's new as far as me being involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
My transformation is not smooth at all, and that a space like that to be able to safely transition would have been helpful for me like a year ago.
Oh, it's going to absolutely be necessary. I have no doubts. And you're not going to be the only one. So it's really imperative that we get this in place, and that's what Brother Phoenix and I have been actively working on. So we look to have some significant developments here as the transformation takes place, but unfortunately, we're just like you. We're a year behind because there's so many things that we're going to have to absolutely have in place that, we could have had all the players been above board with what their participation in this nightmare has been.
Right,
but,
and I've run across some of these, and it's, causing a major disturbance on my end.
And it's always, we are always the last man.
And I'm not putting the blame on everybody else. It's like I played my part in it only because I didn't trust myself. So I'll say that. It's just like any other news as it goes around. You first have to really realize that it's true, before you can go to the next step. And that's what I find a lot of people struggle with. They just they can't believe it. It's like it's not real, So that's why I use that movie, The Matrix, because it's so it's just identical to what we're dealing with. Everything about it. I'm running into more issues and stuff because it's such a mind game that we, speaking for myself, it's like I'm wondering, how is all this happening? Am I manifesting it because I watched something, I saw something, I did something, Oh, it's constantly questioning myself about.
Well, I attribute it to love. I'm a minister. So to me, the only thing, the most powerful force in the universe is love. Okay? So what level we...
Hello? Hello? Yeah, this call's getting cut down. Okay. Hello? What's too long here?